for now, but I have words to say about the start of the evening. I believe that the first time I met Kevin Nance was during a radio interview. It was a radio show run by Laverne and Larry, and I think Kim was there too. And later on, I was invited to a radio interview at a different radio show created by Kevin, Jay, and Linda. And then I started seeing Kevin everywhere. Newspapers, magazines, online, in-person events. And not only seeing him attend, but also naturally step into service and become a backbone of support to other writers and the community at large. Then over the next years, I saw his 2 books of photography and haiku. I will read to you my endorsement to Midnight, which is sold out, but I sincerely feel that it can apply this praise to his other books of images and haiku. Good to find the world is still here, writes Kevin Nance in Midnight, and we do encounter a world between the covers, a world that insists on living by embracing reality, visually stunning and emotionally engaging with subtle layers of meaning. This collection demonstrates the richness of power achieved by the marriage of haiku and photographs. I thoroughly enjoyed Midnight and will read it again and again until I fully absorb its wisdom and beauty. Fast forward a couple of years and I invite Kevin to my podcast for an interview. I think it may have been for Geneva's Garden. Up to that point, I had heard him only read haiku, and on my podcast though, he shared a few longer poems. I was stunned and my surprise was twofold. One, how come I didn't know Kevin wrote longer poems? And 2, wow, this is stunning. And right then and there, we had the following conversation. Me, do you have a manuscript of longer poems ready? Kevin, are you asking? Me, yes. And so Kevin promised to send me something. When someone has worked for decades on their craft, when they have a large body to choose from, and when they have chosen the best, it shows. It's all there. Well-crafted poems in a well thought out order and structure. Smoke is an immersive and evocative, celebratory and heartbreaking journey towards a life of authenticity, personal values, and hard-earned wisdom. Fenton Jones calls Smoke a major literary achievement, from a voice distinctly Southern and at the same time universal in its themes of longing, memory, and love for the creative world in all its manifestations. He adds, such a delight to read poems from a fellow farm boy. I'm not going to say more about the book. You will hear the poems. You will love the poems. We are here to honor and celebrate the person, the arts advocate, the literary citizen, the journalist, the actor, the writer, the photographer, the graphic artist, the interviewer, the great listener, the friend, the person who gives so much of himself to the literary community. Thank you for everything. Please help me welcome Kevin Nance.
I'm going to set my timer to half an hour. I'm not going to go over half an hour, I promise you. Okay. First of all, thank you all for being here. You know, they say when you have an event like this, your friends are the ones who show up. I see you have a lot of friends. Thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. You know, when you publish a book of poetry, it doesn't make the evening news. It's not a thing that the mass audience is going to be interested in. But there are people who care about poetry, and you all are some of them, and I really appreciate you being here. I want to, again, thank you to Katerina for that wonderful introduction and for publishing the book. I want to thank Laverne for making this event possible. Thank you to Suze for that wonderful reading. And I'm going to start to read some poems. The book is separated into 4 sections. I'm going to try to read at least 2 or 3 poems from each of the 4 sections. And I guess I'll start with a poem called, sort of gives you a little bit of a sense of the story of my early life living and working on a tobacco farm in North Carolina. And this poem is called Mouths to Feed. My mama's people farmed sugar cane in South Carolina and cut up stalks of it for us to suck the sweetness from. Shucked their own oysters and ground their own grits in the corn crib. They wrung chickens' necks with their bare hands for Sunday suppers, slaughtered their own hogs and hung them upside down from the branches of the pecan tree. Made their own sausages with black pepper and sage and cured their own hams in the smokehouse. My daddy's people farmed tobacco in North Carolina, and on putting-in days fed us in the farm hands with gallons of stewed chicken bogged down in soupy rice in a big black pot over an open fire, or with catfish fried in a cast iron skillet, the cornmeal crust crackling on your teeth. My daddy lost money every year on the farm, had to sell it off piece by piece until he became a sharecropper on his own land. Sometimes his sisters, who married well, brought cans of creamed corn, bags of pinto beans, a ham bone, and left them on the porch. Other times he'd haul home blocks of government cheese the size and shape of a loaf of light bread and tell us not to say where it came from. He'd drink black coffee at the kitchen table late at night when everyone else had gone to bed, cooling each sip in a saucer before he sipped it, staring straight ahead. I have not written a great deal about being gay, and it's something that I guess you might expect from somebody of my generation. We were kind of pretty much in the closet for a great many decades, and when you did talk about it, it was sort of hidden behind the scenes. And this is a sort of a rare poem in which I allude to being gay and growing up gay in the setting that I've just described to you. So think about the time and the place as you hear This one's called The Right to Remain Silent. My stomach rumbled like rolling thunder that summer, full of beans and bacon, but still some hunger, some odd appetite kept me up at night. Hair sprouting like kudzu on my body. I watched cop shows, one after another, with my mother, who loved when the guilty were read their rights. I worked in her seafood shop that summer, dressing flats of fish, their perfect flesh white, their heads and guts tossed in a bucket of slop. Under the covers, with my flashlight, I traded my comic books for other subject matter, sneaked from my daddy's stash, and was sadder.
No.
Nothing could wash the smell of the ocean off my hands that summer. Not even the girl I said I'd seduced, but never introduced, since she lived in the sea. Anything I said could be used against me in a court of law, so I held my tongue. I was young, after all, and not yet free to say what I knew that summer beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I was not of this world, nor it of me, which left precious little to talk about. My father was a tobacco farmer, as I've mentioned, and I think this poem is kind of central in the book, and it's called Bright Leaf. I watch you lean on a fence post at sunset and light up a Marlboro. The slow, deep drag you hold in your lungs as long as you can, swelling your chest with tar and ashes and the greatest solace you've ever known. You grow the stuff, a fourth-generation master of curing the green tobacco leaves of July and August to the color of the burlap sacks we haul them off to market in come September. Sometimes you hold a tobacco leaf to your nose, inhale its dark bouquet like a snifter of brandy. You don't let the word cancer be spoken in our house. When by chance I'm the one to tell you that your best friend died of it, I see you cry for the first time and the last. At the fence, you know I'm watching from the porch. No, I'll run from this farm as soon as I can. No, there'll be no fifth generation. No, it ends with you. I watch you fire up another cigarette and pull on it hard, its tip flaring in the fading light. And your face, cured half a century in the smoke of 2 packs a day, is revealed as your finest bright leaf, veined, tanned, supple, creased, a parchment treasure map that in my mind I fold and refold till it's soft as linen, ready to memorize and burn. I'll read just one more short poem from this section, and it's called Back from the Funeral. Daddy's dead, but the wash is still wet. So Mama and I stand side by side at the strand of fence wire strung between the pecan trees in the orchard late this breezy afternoon. Her mouth full of clothespins, So no word between us. No sound at all but our breathing in, breathing out. And I hand her my floor-arched t-shirts to hang on the line. The wind filling their sleeves as if with shoulders. Our own shoulders touching. Our own arms splayed like the limbs of these trees that have sheltered us all our lives, holding off the setting sun. The second section of the book is called Dragonfly, and it's more or less about my various poor attempts to have a romantic life. Never worked out for me, but I tried. This one is called The Bed. At first it feels so small, like a full-size bed, or even a twin. The two of you smashed together. His body draped around yours, or yours around his, like a duvet filled with the feathers of each other's breathing. No room and no need for another square inch of space between you. Then winter turns to spring and summer, and all either of you can stand is a thin cotton sheet barely touching the skin in this sweltering room. And you move away from each other as the bed swells to king size at least, a vast and all but impassable continent. By late autumn, it's cold again, and the bed has grown enormous as the world, and you're in it alone, frozen in place on the same side as always, shivering. Sue's mentioned the poem Ice, so I'll read that. There must be a way to stop the wanting, to pack my heart in ice like pricey steaks sent through the mail, so I can look at you in the eye and say, I don't want you anymore, and believe that every word is true. This is called Blood Moon. I used to preface this poem by saying, this is what not to do, and I guess I'll just go ahead and say that. But anyway, you kick him out, but not all the way out. Always insisting you want peace and quiet, but in your heart it's the last thing you want or ever wanted. What's it all been for, if not the way the hair on the back of your neck stands up when he looks at you? Sometimes you want him gone forever with his howling, lying, beautiful mouth, and you don't give a damn how empty you are without him. But then things slow way down and get way too quiet. And instead of thinking about him every second of your life, you start thinking about yourself. And there's a reason why you stay away from mirrors. It's just easier in the end to have him there with his lip curled and his fist balled, because then you know who you are. Plus there's a blood moon tonight, and what a waste it would be without him looming in your bedroom door, claws out and hackles up, and in his yellow eyes that same old look. Liz Harris, where are you, Liz?
I'm over here.
There you are. She mentioned this, and just because you mentioned it, Liz, I'm going to read, this is a prose poem called Sunday Morning. I watched the waiter bring your usual order, a mound of chicken salad on a bed of lettuce to your table on the sidewalk. It has sliced grapes in it, I think. Maybe some walnuts. Your new boyfriend is having quiche Lorraine, one of my favorites back then. You look good, your teeth flashing white when you smile. There's a silver pitcher of cream for the coffee, a bowl of sugar, a basket of croissant, a saucer with pats of butter, and a single flower, a yellow dahlia in a tiny vase. You don't see me because I'm standing in the shadows in the alley across the street, and because you keep your eyes on him. Even if you glanced in my direction, you might not recognize me. It's hypothetical, though, because I refuse to say a word to you. A single word that would ruin your perfect breakfast on this perfect Sunday morning. So I wait in the alley, watch you chew and swallow and sip and smile at him. Watch him smile back. Watch the two of you rise and walk off down the street holding hands until you're far enough away. Then I run across the street to your table and scoop up what's left of the chicken salad in a paper sack. I set off in the opposite direction with the busboy's eyes on my back, walking fast, almost running, crushing the dahlia in my fist. I'll read one more from this section, and it's called What I'll Settle For. This is more of kind of where I am now. The list, what I'll settle for. The list grows longer every year. Instead of hardwood, I accept an old rug, even though it's frayed. An easy chair that fits my bones, if not the room. In place of a crackling fire and a hearth, my little space heater, taking the chill off the bathroom tiles, keeping me company as I soak and doze in the narrow tub. On chilly mornings, the silhouettes of leaves dancing on Venetian blinds as I take in the show from my bed, alone beneath the faded coverlet. My hand-thrown earthen coffee mug, rough and ridged from the potter's fingers, the hand that held it, holding my hand, the flame that kissed it, kissing my lips. Katerina very kindly mentioned that I'm a photographer, and so I'm going to read a couple of poems about being a photographer, and these are sort of my highs and lows as a photographer. The first one is called Photographer's Paradiso. It's always early morning or late afternoon, the light crisp as a glass of cold Chardonnay, or else the blue hour, the moon a slice of orange in a sangria sky, as a stranger waits till you're ready before busting a move on the street, his face drunk with joy, his head flung back at just the right angle for you to click the shutter and capture for eternity one perfect day. The next one is called Photographer's Inferno. It's always that morning leaving New Orleans on I-10 when you see in the corner of your eye a small boat in the bayou to your right, a breeze ruffling the surface of the shining water, and a seated fisherman casting his line in a perfect arc across the narrow channel toward a stand of swaying sweetgrass. You start to salivate and begin to pull over with your camera ready in the passenger seat. But an 18-wheeler's right on your ass and you hesitate. Just a second. And the next second you've missed your chance that rippling carpet of diamonds and a thin strand of nylon catching the light and defining the line between water and sky, lost in an instant. You drive on to Biloxi, your mouth brackish with the brine of an image that will stay with you as long as you live. A picture that no one but you will ever see. I read another poem from this section. It's called Horse Capital, and I think most of you will recognize much about this poem. Sad to live in the horse capital of the world and have nothing to do with horses. It makes you feel left out, prone to pretend you know who Oliver Lewis was and why it's called bluegrass when the grass clearly isn't blue, and why on those cold, misty mornings when you can see the colt's breath as they gamble in the pasture to your office, as they gamble in the pasture on your right as you drive downtown to your office, you wonder what would happen if you were that colt on your 3rd birthday with thousands of people watching as you stand trembling at the gate, ready to run. The book is mostly longer poems, but there are a few haiku in it, and this one's called Sunday Clothes. Lovely Lexington in Sunday clothes, Saturday's bourbon on her breath. One more, The Cloud I've Been Under. This one has kind of a sort of a bouncy, maybe jazzy kind of feel to it, and internal rhymes. It's when I plant my feet that the street beneath me starts to shift. It's when I laugh out loud that the cloud I've been under starts to lift. It's when I'm feeling old that I'm told I'm returning to my youth. It's when I start to cry that the lie I've been telling is the truth. Lastly, I'm going to read a poem called Meanwhile, which is sort of the title poem of this section. These are the lives we've been given. All these bright, shining mornings and dark, starless nights. All these damned and beloved children, lost and found and lost. All these tears. Of course, there's no changing the past, no matter what color glasses we look at it through. Nor is there any confusion about where we're headed, only how we'll get there and when. Till then, the world is harsh and cold, but for what we bring to it in our little rooms, the cups of coffee we pour each other and warm our hands with, the cream and the sugar, the barely burnt crusts of bread. In the final section, of the book, I'm looking forward toward old age. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm heading in that direction. And really, sort of toward the end, and what may be beyond it. Okay, go ahead. This is a poem called Afterward, and it sort of imagines what happened in the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve were expelled. With no one to call them, the animals in the garden forget their names. Their truce, too. In sudden hunger, they hunt each other, rending the air with screams of the kill. In garden paths, once worn smooth by the tread of soft bare feet, grass grows, then saplings, erasing every trace of man or woman or God. Where once there were only spring and summer, now comes autumn. The shimmering tree at the edge of the garden, so heavy with fruit that its branches bow down to the ground. With no one to pick them, the ripened apples fall from the tree, luscious in the light, and are eaten by birds who scatter their seed in fertile fields far from the garden. High in the tree, two eyes watch. A mouth shoots out an exploratory tongue, tastes winter on the wind, and begins to invent an alphabet, starting with the letter S. I wanted to take you through a book that remembers sort of the greatest hits of the pandemic. Remember that thing that happened a few years ago and threatens to happen again at any moment? This is the sequence of haiku, and there are 7 of them, and this poem is called Daybook 2020. Streets almost empty. Late at night, they haunt me now, those wailing sirens. For 24 hours, I think I've got it. Write my will and testament. After lunch, I just say fuck it and lie face down on the hardwood floor. Of all things to be reassured by, lawnmowers. The smell of cut grass. We get accustomed to everything soon enough, even all these dead. The solace of ice in a glass, lime, gin, tonic, bitter as the nights. This rainy morning, I want you turn a corner, and like that, you're gone. There's a poem called Death's Door, which sounds really grim, but I thought, what if death actually had a door? And if it had a door, then there must be a building, like a house, and where would that house be, and on and on. So this poem is kind of a what-if poem that explores that. You can't miss it. It's the last house on the block. A bit run down, but lots of curb appeal. A widow's walk on the mansard roof. A weather vane that always points south. Tall, beveled windows with the shutters closed, day and night. The owner's been there forever. A gentleman who mostly keeps to himself. He takes long walks of an evening with his collar turned up, his fedora pulled low. Sometimes he'll nod when you pass him on the sidewalk. Sometimes, from across the street, he'll wave. You take it as an invitation. And one day soon, or years from now, you'll find yourself standing at his door, admiring the old brass doorknob rubbed to a shine. Put your good eye to the keyhole. See nothing but darkness. Knock. And then 2 more poems and we'll be done. This one's called The Blessing. When early months of the pandemic, it really seemed like the world might be sort of ending. I was there by myself. There wasn't much to do, and just to keep myself from just going to pieces, I kind of did what is in this poem, The Blessing. With the news so uniformly depressing, I retreat to my kitchen and make some pinto beans with a little bacon and some fresh-baked cornbread to sop up the juice, and sit down to eat with the ghost of my old Aunt Addie at my elbow, clinking the ice cubes in her glass of sweet tea, waiting for me to ask the blessing. And I'll end it with the very last poem in the book, which kind of looks past everything, I guess you could say. And it's called When This Is All Over. When this is all over, I'll look up at the sky and float among the clouds, singing out their names like old friends I haven't seen forever. I'll flit flower to flower, flapping my wings so fast that no one can see them, and sticking my nose in everywhere, sampling the nectar. I'll lie down in a green pasture, and my arms will sprout the thorns of a thistle. My fingers will bloom with purple petals, and you'll admire me from a safe distance. I'll swim again in the river I was baptized in, and keep on going, breathing through my gills and flicking my fins as the current takes me where it will. Thank you, everybody.